What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your best Par 50 rechargeable par can wash light. They're available in two different colors of black and white, but the setup for each is the exact same. As you can see, it comes with the light itself, a wireless IR remote to control your light, a light clamp to mount your light onto a truss, and a power adapter to charge your light. So to put the adapter together, you're just going to take your power cable, plug this end right into the block, then you can take the two-prong end and plug it into a power outlet, then plug your other end right into your light. Now if your light is completely dead, it'll take about 6 hours to fully charge, and from there you can use the light to up to 15 hours. Now there are many different ways we can use the best Par 50, including wall washing for a cool ambiance. So you can either have the light standing on its own and place it flush against your wall so that the light is shining upwards, or you can use the leg on the bottom of your light to angle it towards your wall so that the light is hitting it the way you want. Once you have it in the position you want it, you can use any of the light modes or colors, which we'll get to in a bit. Another way to use your best Par 50 is for lighting up a DJ facade or a totem stand. When using it with a totem stand like our very own series of Rockville totem stands, all you'll want to do is lift up the scrim of the totem stand and place your light right in the middle. The setup for using the light with a DJ facade is very similar to the wall washing setup, where you can place your light completely flush against your DJ facade. You can even use the leg to angle your light towards the DJ facade for a different effect. And depending on how big your DJ facade is, you can use multiple lights for a much more illuminated effect. Like mentioned before, we can also mount our light to a truss by using the included lighting clamp. For that setup, you're going to start by taking off this nut here on the bottom of your bolt. We're also going to leave both washers set up to the top of the bolt here like so. Then you're going to line up your nut here to the groove here on top of your light so that it fits perfectly inside. Next, we're going to run the bolt here through the holes of your nut and the light and screw on the bolt to secure it to the light. This groove also helps keep the nut in place when securing your clamp onto the light. And we can even use a wrench to further secure the bolt onto your light. So now to mount the clamp onto your truss, we're going to start by loosening this fly bolt here. Then we can line the clamp up to a spot on our truss where we want to mount our light and tighten the fly bolt to lock it in place. Now there are several different mode options we can use with the best Par 50 that we can toggle through using the buttons underneath the LCD display. To change the mode of your light, you can use the mode button. You can use the up and down buttons to adjust the value or the color depending on which mode you're in, and use the enter button to save your changes. The D001 setting sets the light into a 10-channel DMX mode, where you can set the DMX address for your light and use it with a DMX controller with all 10 faders. So once you're in this mode, you can use the up and down buttons to set it to a different DMX address, and press the enter button to save the address. The A001 setting sets the light into a 6-channel DMX mode, so you can set the DMX address with the up and down buttons and press enter to save, and use 6 faders with your DMX controller. We're going to go over the difference between 10-channel and 6-channel in just a bit. Now after that, we have the CO mode, which acts as a static colored mode where we can cycle between 32 different colors using the up and down buttons. The CC mode acts as the color change mode where it cycles between all the different colors, and we can use the up and down buttons to change the speed of the cycle. So the higher in value I go up, the faster the cycle will be. The CP mode acts as a color fade, where the lights will fade into each color, and again we can use the up and down buttons to adjust the speed. The DE mode acts as a color pulse, where it pulses between each color. Again, you can use the up and down buttons to adjust the speed. There's also a strobe mode we can use the up and down buttons to control the speed of the strobe. And there's also a sound mode labeled BB, which will trigger the light to change color every time it picks up sound. So for example, if I clap my hands, the light will pick up sound and change between the colors. There's even a feature to turn off the Wireless DMX feature with the G setting, so you can select it to be on to use a Wireless DMX controller or to pair your lights wirelessly, or you can have the setting off so you don't have to use your lights wirelessly. And finally, because this is an RGBWA+UV light, there are 6 different modes where we can adjust the intensity of either the red, green, blue, white, amber, or ultraviolet LEDs. And setting different intensities on each LED allow you to come up with a bunch of different varieties of colors, so you can come up with a fully customized color or variations of different colors. So now let's say you have multiple best Par 50s and you want even more control over them with a stage production or a live venue setup. This is where the 10-channel or 6-channel DMX modes come in handy. Now using either the 10-channel or the 6-channel mode is completely dependent on your needs and how you want to control your lights. For example, the 6-channel mode gives you control over the different colors, while 10-channel mode allows you to control all the 6 colors, activating each preset mode, and adjusting the speed for each mode. One of the benefits of using a DMX controller is that you can come up with a synchronized lighting effect if you daisy chain multiple PAR lights and use the controller to control them all at once. Now, to sync your lights up to your wireless DMX controller, you're going to want to set them to the same wireless DMX signal. To do that on your best PAR 50, we're going to use this button underneath this light here and set the light to a specific wireless DMX signal. For today, we'll use red. We'll want to go to our controller and do the same exact thing. Next, you'll want to go to your light and set it to either the 10-channel or the 6-channel DMX mode. For today, we'll use the 10-channel. After that, we'll want to use the up and down buttons to select the DMX address and press enter to set it. For today, we'll use D001 and press enter. And now you'll know your lights are synced up to your DMX controller when the light here on your DMX controller is flashing red and the light on your lights are flashing green. Next on your controller, we'll want to activate the first scanner here. And now we can go through each fader on our controller and see what it does with our lights. Starting with fader 1 here, this acts as our master fader for brightness, so we're going to go ahead and raise that all the way up. Moving on, we have fader 2, which controls the red LEDs. So if I raise that up, you'll start to see the red LEDs coming through. And depending on where we leave the fader determines how much red is coming through our light. Moving on, we have fader 3 that controls the green LEDs. Fader 4 will control our blue LEDs. Fader 5 controls the white LEDs. Fader 6 controls the amber LEDs. And fader 7 controls the ultraviolet LEDs. Now fader 8 controls the strobe mode of our lights, so while the lights are set to any color, I can raise fader 8 to control the strobe, and again, depending on where I leave the fader determines the intensity of the strobe, so if I raise that all the way up, you get max strobe, and if I lower it, not as much strobe. Now fader 9 will control all of the preset modes available with your lights. So when you raise this fader up and down, it corresponds with this number here on your DMX controller. So depending on where you leave fader 9, it will activate a certain mode. So for example, if I raised it anywhere from the values of 101 to 150, it will set the lights into a color fade mode. And then from there we can control the speed of the modes with fader 10. So the more I raise fader 10, the faster the colors change, and the lower I set this fader, the slower the change. You can see a complete cheat sheet of fader 9 here. So now in case you didn't want to do this wirelessly, you can always use DMX cables to connect your lights to your controller. For this you can set the wireless DMX feature off on your light with the G setting. So to start, I'm going to take one DMX cable, I'm going to plug the male end into the DMX out on my controller, then plug the other end into the DMX in on my first light. So now to connect the lights to each other, you're going to take another DMX cable, plug the male end into the DMX out on your light, then plug the female end into the DMX in on your next light. And to set up even more lights, you're going to repeat this process by using the DMX outs and ins. You'll also want to set your lights to either the 10-channel or the 6-channel DMX mode. For now, we'll stick with the 10-channel mode. So now if I go to my controller and activate scanner 1, raise the master fader, and set my lights, you'll see the LEDs coming through. From there, we can set the lights to any color or mode like we showed you before. Now, if you didn't want to use a DMX controller, but you still wanted to have multiple lights set up in sync, you can always use the master slave function. For this setup, we're going to want to set the light to the same wireless DMX signal by using this button underneath the light here. For today, we're going to set the signal on both lights to red. Next, we're going to want to set both lights to the same DMX address using the A settings. So we're going to set them both to A001 and press enter. From there we can determine which light we want to have set as our master light, so I'm going to go to this guy here and set it to a mode like our color change mode. And now on the back of your master light, you'll see that the wireless DMX signal is flashing red, while the wireless DMX signal on your slave light is flashing green. And you should also be seeing that your lights are in sync in the color change mode. Now while we're in master slave mode, we can use any of the colors or modes with the lights, and we can also control all of the lights at once with the wireless remote. So with the remote, we can change it to any of the base colors of red, green, blue, white, amber, or ultraviolet, as well as the different variations of colors towards the bottom of your remote. With the remote, we can also set the lights to the preset modes like auto, strobe, fade, or even the sound mode. We can also use the up and down buttons on the top of the remote to change the speed of each mode. Now, in case you didn't want to have the lights synced up together wirelessly, you can always use a DMX cable to connect each light. While doing this, you can also turn off the Wireless DMX feature on both lights with the G setting. So I'm going to take the male end of my DMX cable and plug it into the DMX out on my first light. Then I'll take the other end and plug it into the DMX in on my next light. And we're just going to continue this process through the DMX out and the DMX ins to connect even more lights to our chain. Again, you want to set the light to the same DMX address, so we're going to set it to A001. So now I can set the lights to a mode or color using the controls on the light itself or with my wireless remote. Now there is another way we can group our best par 50 lights without Wireless DMX or the master slave function. So let's say I have 6 lights in total here, and I want one set of lights to be red, one set of lights to be blue, and the third set of lights in sound mode. So we'll start with our first set here and turn them on. Next we're going to go into the static color mode and set our lights to red, and then we're going to press enter to save the change and turn them off. Saving the changes allow the lights to remember the last setting they were at, so by the time we turn them back on, they're going to be in red, which we'll show you in a bit. So now let's turn on our second group of lights, go into the static color mode and set them to blue. We'll press enter again to save the setting and turn them off. And lastly, we'll turn on our third group of lights, set them to the sound mode, press enter, and then we'll turn the other groups of lights back on. So like I said before, the lights remember the last settings they were at, so we have this section in red, this section in blue, and the middle section in the sound mode. And remember, you can do this for however many lights you want in one group, with any mode or any color you want to use. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your best par 50 rechargeable par can wash lights. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.